What's up everyone, I'm CallumOnToast, and in today's video I'm going to be showcasing some battles in the Open Great League featuring 3 newly released Shadow Pokemon with Starmie, Vikavolt, and Talonflame, and 3 Shadow Pokemon that can output insane amounts of damage. Now unfortunately both Vikavolt and Talonflame require an elite fast CM to get their Community Day moves of Volt Switch and Incinerate respectively, which isn't ideal. I know a lot of people actually have an abundance of elite fast CMs and are almost looking for a reason to use them, in which case that's fair enough. Unfortunately that is not the case for me. I have already used quite a few elite fast CMs this season and they haven't really been great either. But anyways, yeah, I did about 5 sets with this team. The first set really did not go very well, but I would say that's partly down to Talonflame having the wrong moveset. I do not think you need Flame Charge. As you are a Shadow Pokemon, you already hit insanely hard, so I think the pacing of Fly and Brave Bird together works a lot better, and as a result, in my next 4 sets, I was actually able to climb quite a decent amount of elo with multiple 4-on-1s. Now, there are obviously a ton of core breakers to this team. I just want to showcase as many new Pokemon as possible, but despite that, I still fought back against many of those core breakers and pulled off some insanely clutch wins. So with that being said, let's just get into the question of the day. Which Shadow Pokemon that you've recently removed frustration from are you most enjoying using in the Go Battle League? These do not have to be newly released Shadow Pokemon. This can be any Shadow Pokemon that you've finally been able to get rid of frustration on and start using in the Go Battle League. Let me know in the comment section down below. And with that being said, let's get into the battles now. Alright, so go into the first battle, leading Shadow Starmie into Drapion. This is not a great matchup for me whatsoever. I'm going to be safe swapping into my Vikavolt. For the duration of this video, I do use Vikavolt as the safe swap here. I did actually contemplate using Mud Slap as the fast move and not using an elite fast TM, but in the end, I do think Volt Switch is going to be better for it. But anyways, we go for an X-Scissor, grab a shield, and the opponent underestimates just how attack weighted this Pokemon is. They end up throwing the second charge move on CMP, and of course, they lose the CMP tie. I grab both shields, and you can see Aqua Tail, even non-stab, neutral damage from a non-Shadow Drapion takes us out there. So we come in with the Shadow Talonflame. They are definitely going to outpace me to the Aqua Tail here. This second Incinerate damage will register, so at this point I'm actually going to swap out. I recognize they will reach another Aqua Tail. Unfortunately, they banked the charge move there rather than throwing a Crunch. Honestly, I kind of just wanted to sacrifice the Starmie at this point, as I recognize Talonflame can go to town when all shields are down. But anyways, Hydro Cannon gets the KO there. I'm going to be forced to throw a Fly, as they do overfarm by a single Shadow Claw there, which means I could not get the full farm down, and the opponent does have that Aqua Tail loaded, but Talonflame able to tank it just barely, and I get damage registration error, which allows me to reach a Brave Bird. Brave Bird easily gets the one-shot up against Galissapod, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's to opponent there into the next battle. We're going to see Dedenne in the lead. This is definitely not ideal. Another core breaker to the team. What we're going to do, I assume they're just going to go straight for a Parabolic Charge. So I'm going to swap out 1 turn early, allowing me to catch the move onto Vikavolt, but also get an X-Scissor through, which means I will outpace them to the next charge move. Of course, they boosted up the defense there, and both my charge moves are resisted anyways, so wouldn't have done much damage, but they do actually swap out into a Kanto Marowak, and they do go for the full farm down, but we get them fairly low here. I can come in with the Shadow Starmie. They actually throw straight away, so kind of wishing I came in with the Talonflame, but that's okay. What I'm going to do now is assume they're going to throw straight away once again, which they do, which allows me to, first of all, swap out 1 turn early and get a full Incinerate through, and also catch a resisted Bone Club. Now they come back in with the Dedenne, but because we get the farm down, I'm actually ahead on energy. Fly is going to grab the first shield here from the opponent. I'm going to shield my Talonflame here. I will outpace them to the next charge move as well. And Fly, even though they've just boosted up the defense, will get the KO from this range. The opponent, no shields, and their final Pokemon is going to be a Drifblim. So I'm going to bank the Fly. I swap back into Starmie. I'm going straight for Ice Beam, and Ice Beam is going to grab the final shield. But you can see my Talonflame IVs are not ideal, and as a result, we can win CMP here, going for the Fly, and Fly from the Shadow Talonflame gets the KO up against the Drifblim, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's to opponent there into the next battle. We're going to see a Wigglytuff in the lead. So, a bit of an awkward matchup for me because, well, yes, of course, my Talonflame is going to do fairly well here. I can't really swap into it as Vikavolt is definitely going to struggle. So, instead, I'm just going to play out the zero shield scenario here. The opponent is, of course, going to shield that. And of course, they do. What the heck? Of course, they do. They've got a Wigglytuff. They're going to fight for switch advantage, but I assume they're probably going to have like a double Mud Slap team in the back. That is not the case. They've actually got Drifblim here. So, what this could be is Drifblim and Gastrodon or Kanto Marowak in the back. So, what we're going to do, I'm actually going to use my final shield here. I'm now going to go for a full Volt Switch farm down. Unfortunately, both my charge moves are debuffed and resisted up against Wigglytuff. So what I do here, I fire off the X-Scissor, and then I want to get ahead on energy, so I don't throw the next charge move at all. Instead, we get the Incinerate farm down. They've got Gastronaut in the back. I wait to see if they throw a Body Slam. They don't. So now my win condition is if the opponent calls a bait, and they do. Brave Bird gets the one shot there, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's to opponent there into the next battle, and we are going to see a nightmare lead matchup for me. This is the biggest problem for this team, Shadow Giratina. Giratina, of course, going to deal super effective damage if they've got Shadow Claw up against my Starmie, as well as resisting both the fast moves from my Vikavolt and my Talonflame. So here, we're going to shield. They go for a bait with the Dragon Claw. If they full send an Ancient Power is unfortunately going to get the one shot. They don't get the boost there, but it doesn't really matter. I've still got a Talonflame in the back. And of course, Ancient Power just one-shot my Bug-type Pokemon. Ancient Power is double super effective up against the Talonflame, so of course, I'm going to have to respect it. They go for the Ancient Power, and they actually already have another charge move. Is this already an Ancient Power? Nope, it's just a Dragon Claw there, but we swap into Starmie. Unfortunately, we still don't get the farm down. We finally get it with the Incinerate damage, and you know what? I'm just blind throwing a Brave Bird. Brave Bird gets the one-shot, but of course, I drop my defense. They come in with Credilli on Acid, and unfortunately, I do lose that game. But GG's to opponent there, and I will say we see a few more Giratina leads throughout this video, and I do actually manage to fight back against them, so stay tuned for that. But anyways, into this next battle, and another awkward lead matchup for me. I'm going to say swap into Vikavolt. I am running Crunch there, it hits for neutral damage, everything else is resisted, and the opponent actually not going to overfarm there. They just go straight for that Stone Edge, which is fine with me. I can now come in with the Shadow Starmie here, and I will overfarm as much as possible. Look to throw the Surf on the CMP tie there, of course, winning CMP up against the Clodsire. Surf gets the KO. The opponent is only one hex away from their charge move. So I'm going to shield this up here, and then I will actually bank very close to the next Surf, swap into Talonflame, and the opponent actually ends up throwing on really poor timing, allowing a full Incinerate in for free. The opponent then swaps into their final Pokemon, a Primate, but because we snuck that Incinerate through, I'm actually able to outpace them to the fly, grab the first shield here, and I recognize they do overfarm here. If I go for one more Incinerate, they will reach another Rage Fist. So instead, we're going to throw straight away. Not very good timing here, but I need to throw now. And Fly actually grabs the final shield from the opponent, and Psywaves are going to deal huge damage in this matchup. Rage Fist gets the KO there, but we get the full farm down, and I make a huge mistake here. I thought they already had a charge move loaded, so I go for Surf, but I forgot, of course, they threw on bad timing. They snuck a full Incinerate through, or at least I snuck the Incinerate through there, so they still weren't even 2 away from that charge move, and as a result, we get the Psywave farm down, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's to opponent there. Into the next battle, we see a Dragon Breath Shadow Giratina this time, and unfortunately, they do still outpace me to the charge move. Dragon Claw probably gets the KO there, so I do end up shielding. We're going to go for an Ice Beam. Ice Beam is going to be shielded in return. We can now swap into our Shadow Vikavolt, and the opponent catches the charge move onto their Diggersby. So, of course, Crunch is going to hit for neutral damage here, but it actually drops their defense, and that might be huge for me. So, this point, of course, going to have to just let the Vikavolt go down here. Giratina probably on Ancient Power, which would one-shot my Talonflame. So we're going to come in with the Talonflame. Unless they've got Hyper Beam, which is very unlikely, I should be able to resist everything they can throw here. But if they go for Scorching Sands and get a debuff, unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to go for a full Incinerate farm down. And they do debuff me, but I can actually snipe with the Shadow Starmie. The opponent comes in with Shadow Scizor, but somehow, I don't understand how, we reach a last-second Surf. Surf gets the KO as they want to save their shield for the Giratina, but it's too little too late as Talonflame has 100 energy. Fly grabs the final shield here. Fly might get the KO, but there's no point. We're full sending Brave Bird. Brave Bird easily gets the KO, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's to opponent there into the next battle. We can see Shadow Starmie into Shadow Kanto Marowak. So, this you'd think is probably a good matchup for me, but nope, that is not the case. I tried to swap out there, catch a Bone Club as the last Marowak user. Did just throw every charge through straight away. However, unfortunately, we're unsuccessful, and the opponent does full send the Rock Slide there, forcing a shield before swapping into a Giratina. Now, I go for the Fly there. Brave Bird would have got the one shot if they, of course, no-shielded, which they did. And unfortunately, because they go straight Dragon Claw, that actually puts me into perfect farm down range. But if we can get a sideways snipe here, which we can get rid of all of that energy, but we're not in a great position here. Let's see what they've got in the back. The opponent comes in with a Tinkerton. Not ideal for me, especially since I end up throwing on alignment there, giving a full Fairy Wind in for free. Surf is going to connect. I go for one side wave. I swap out. I should get the Volt Switch through as we swap there, but for some reason, it doesn't work out for me. And as well, they drop my defense, meaning I don't even reach the X-Scissor. And even if we did reach the X-Scissor there, they still could have just shielded that and shielded the Surf here, gone for a full mud-side farm down, so it didn't make a difference there. The opponent able to farm me down, and unfortunately, I do lose that game. So, GG's up in there into the next battle. We're going to see a Pidgey on the lead. They say swap into Morpeko. I do not have a great response. So, once again, like against the Dene, I'm going to swap, catch the move. However, I realized Aura Wheel is basically going to one-shot the Vikavolt, so I'm forced to shield there. But because I did swap and get the Volt Switch through, like I did last time, I'm able to outpace them to the X-Scissor this time around. X-Scissor grabs a shield here, and I'm actually just going to double shield. I need to put them in range where maybe I can Incinerate, farm them down, or at least force them to throw energy straight away up against my Starmie. So, we're going to go for the X-Scissor here. X-Scissor should be grabbing the final shield, and it does exactly that, but they do overfarm quite considerably. So at this point, I'm actually not keeping track of their energy. I don't know if one Incinerate would get the full farm down from this range. Possibly not quite. So instead, we come back in with the Shadow Starmie. We just guarantee the KO here with the Surf. Surf takes them out. They come back in with the Pidgeot, but I recognize if they commit to a farm down, I'm going to reach an Ice Beam here. Ice Beam is super effective. It gets the KO, and their final Pokemon is going to be Annihilate. I can tank a Rage Fist, and so the opponent just concedes the match. So, GG's to opponent there into the next battle. We're going to see Shadow Starmie into a Talonflame. So, this is a good lead matchup finally. The opponent is going to be safe swapping into their Kanto Marowak. So, I'm going to fire off a Surf here because it does take one turn to swap out there. I can outpace them by a single turn. At this point, instead of trying to catch a Bone Club and failing, instead, I'm actually just going to let Starmie go down. We grab the shield advantage. Talonflame with a shield advantage is absolutely devastating as long as they don't have a Pokemon that resists the flying type damage. So, here the opponent tries to throw in CMP. I'm not falling for that. Instead, we get the full farm down. We come out with 100 energy. We wait to see what comes in. It's a Gastrodon. I'm going straight for Brave Bird. Brave Bird, gotta be no-shielded. It nearly one-shots them. We swap into Vikavolt, and whilst Incinerate's absolutely shredding through us, I would reach one Charge Move there, which would have forced the final shield, and so the opponent just concedes the match. And it's the next battle. GG's to our trainer, by the way. We lead into Giratina, and once again, they're on Shadow Claw, but this time they actually allow me to reach an Ice Beam. Now, Ice Beam is gonna be no-shielded. We get the KO there. They come in with a Shadow Scissor. I possibly could have swapped out there, as I do have two Pokemon that resist the Bullet Punch damage there, but it doesn't really matter. We can align the Talonflame. They throw a Charge Move, which means Incinerate damage registers. That's insane damage. And their final Pokemon is going to be a Lapras. So, of course, there's no point baiting. Brave Bird grabs the first shield. We can now swap into Vikavolt. And by the time I reach back-to-back X-Scissors, that'll be more than enough damage to get the KO. So I use my first shield here. The opponent recognizing there's nothing they can do. And so they just concede the match. So, GG's up in there into the next battle. We can see Shadow Starmie into Macargo. So, the good leads continue here for the Starmie. The opponent's going to say swap, but they swap into Primeape, and they're not even going to reach two Charge Moves here. That is how insane the Psywave damage is. We can just safely shield up a Rage Fist, go for the full farm down. We've got so much loaded energy. So, let's see what the opponent wants to do. Of course, they're going to come in with their final Pokemon, which is going to be Serperior. So, I swap into Vikavolt. I can, of course, tank one Charge Move here. I expect the opponent will be swapping out as soon as they can. So, I'm going to fire off the X's are here before they can swap, probably grab the first shield from the opponent, and we do exactly that, and we're just barely able to reach another X-Scissor. Now, X-Scissor is resisted damage. It doesn't do much damage there, but it doesn't really matter. Starmie has so much loaded energy. I'm actually going to reach back-to-back Surfs before the opponent even reaches a Rock Tomb. So, Surf gonna be no-shielded. We've got Talonflame aligned to the Serperior. They recognize there's nothing they can do, and so they just concede the match. So, GG's to opponent there into the next battle. We see another Shadow Kanto Marowak. So last time I tried to catch the move, it did not work out. This time, I'm actually going to fire off a Surf straight away, and it also does not work out. So, I just can't figure out what to do up against his lead. If I did, of course, not throw straight away, there is the potential they could force a shield from me early as Bone Club. Probably gets the KO there, but now, of course, I bank another Surf. I come in with my Vikavolt here, and I do make a bit of a mistake. What I should have done is just committed to a full Volt Switch farm down here. The opponent possibly could have got damage registration error there. there and reach a last-second charge move, but it is fairly unlikely. Instead, what I should have done, committed to the farm down, come out with 2 Crunches loaded, and Crunch would have done huge damage there up against the Giratina, which it does, but unfortunately, I could have then forced a shield as well. So at this point, of course, I recognize they will reach a Rock Slide on the Marowak, so I have to no-shield this, and it is just a Dragon Claw, but Dragon Claw honestly puts me into range where Bone Club can potentially get the KO, so the opponent is going to be 2 away from the next Bone Club. I tried to go for a CMP tie sack swap, but it backfires as the opponent does not throw straight away, and as a result, they can mud slap farming down. Unfortunately, Sidewaves don't quite get the farm down there, and of course, now they've got the Rock Slide. Rock Slide, never mind, they go for the BM Bone Club anyways, just because they can, and unfortunately, I do lose that game. So, GG Sopo there into the next battle, another great lead for the Shadow Starmie, and these Sidewaves absolutely shredding through the Annihilate there. Of course, if they stayed in that matchup, they could grab a shield, but then I'd be able to fully Sidewave farm them down. So they do swap into Drapion, we land the Surf, that puts them into range, where I can of course just go for a Volt Switch farm down, and their final Pokemon going to be a Diggersby. Now of course, unfortunately they will get a Quick Attack farm down here, but I feel like this game is already over here, as now we can come in with the Talonflame. I can resist the charge views once again if they're not running Hyper Beam, which is very unlikely, and they definitely did not farm to it here. The opponent is going to throw a Scorching Sands. Scorching Sands does not get the debuff. I'm not going to throw straight away, and as a result, we get a full Incinerate through, the opponent recognizing that I might try and throw there on CMP, and as a result, we can now fire off the Fly, gonna be no-shielded, and that's game over. I can just come in with the Shadow Starmie, safely shield up a Rage Fist, we can go for the Sideway farm down, we're able to take out Annihilate. They still got 2 shields, but they honestly didn't really have any opportunities to use them there, and so I'm able to take that game. So GG to a trainer into the next battle. We see a Toedscruel in the lead, and if they don't know that we've got Ice Beam coverage, well, I guess they're about to find out. Shout out to Jamie Finn for that quote, and it gets the one shot there as we now see a Dedenne coming in. So that is not ideal for me, but we're going to fire off the Surf. Surf is at least going to grab a shield. We can now swap into Vikavolt, but the opponent's got a Bastiodon in the back. I don't think we've got any play here. They've got Dedenne, which is absolutely loaded, and they've got Bastiodon, which I don't even know if I can take out. Honestly, probably needed a Crunch debuff, which we don't get. Crunch number 2 also does not get the debuff there. And Talonflame, whilst we are a Shadow, we can possibly Incinerate farm them down here, but we're just taking so much damage from the Smackdown. So at this point, I'm going to use my first shield. They will not reach 2 charge moves here, but they can just safely swap back into Dedenne. There's not a lot I can do. I'm going to shield here. I'm actually just going to go straight for Brave Bird. This is my win condition. Brave Bird needs to be no shielded, but they do end up shielding. I swap out there, I clear the debuff, but they can just fully farm me down there. Of course, coming out with a charge move loaded. Parabolic Charge takes out the Shadow Talonflame, and unfortunately, I do lose that game. But GG Sopo there into the next battle. We're going to see a Drifblim in the lead, so not ideal for me. I'm going to be safe swapping into Vikavolt, even though this is actually my strong answer in this matchup. They swap into a Gastrodon, but I'm at back-to-back X-Scissors, and you can see X-Scissor does huge damage there. Gastrodon is a fairly bulky Pokemon, but X-Scissor is going to 2-shot them, so we do grab a shield advantage. At this point, they're probably going to grab a shield back from me. The opponent, even if they do just go straight Body Slam here, would be able to KO me with 2 Body Slams. So I'm going to shield the first one, might as well, as I will need to shield the next one anyways, if they bait with the Body Slam, which they do. But now we can, of course, just no-shield the next charge move here. As they go for the Body Slam, we get the Sideway farm down, and I'm going straight for Ice Beam. The opponent actually comes in with a Regidrago, but Ice Beam is still super effective. It gets the one shot there. We're now going to swap into our Shadow Talonflame, and again, the opponent throwing on really poor timing, giving a full Incinerate in for free, and as a result, they're not going to reach an Icy Wind and a Shadow Ball. This is just a second Icy Wind. Icy Wind does not get the KO there, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG stop in there into the next battle. We're going to see another Shadow Giratina in the lead. So, the last few I've actually been able to win against. Let's see if we can do the same here. The opponent does allow me to reach an Ice Beam. Ice Beam is unfortunately shielded this time around. We swap into our Shadow Vikavolt, and we will reach a Crunch here if the opponent doesn't throw or doesn't swap out here. So, we're going to go for that Crunch. Crunch is going to be super effective damage. Crunch is going to be double shielded by the Giratina, but the opponent's going to swap into a Malamar here, and of course X is a double super effective, easily gets the one shot there, and they swap into their final Pokemon, a Primate. it, but we've got a chance here. We can come in with the Shadow Talonflame. I can tank that first charge move very comfortably. The opponent fires off the Rage Fist. They will reach another Rage Fist, but I put them into range where I can just sideway farm them down. I'm going to bank the energy here. It doesn't matter if Giratina has a charge move loaded because Talonflame will be winning CMP, and of course, I can go straight for the Fly. Don't need to go for the Brave Bird this time around. Fly takes out the Shadow Giratina, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's up on there into the next battle. We see a Shadow Magnezone in the lead. So, not a great matchup for me. I'm going to swap there, and something really strange happens there. I just don't take that first Volt Switch damage whatsoever. You can see my Starmie doesn't have any depleted HP, and as well, I didn't take the damage on my Vikavolt. This is something that happens sometimes when you swap out. As the fast move damage comes through, it's more noticeable when, of course, it's a higher turn fast move like a Volt Switch or a Confusion or a Incinerate, for example. Very strange there. I actually don't know why I didn't throw as well. I thought maybe I'd live an Aerial Ace from that range, so that's definitely a mistake. That could at least put them into range where maybe I could have just come in with my Talonflame and Incinerate, farm them down before they reach the next charge move there. But anyways, they make a brilliant catch there. I'm not able to react in time, so I go for the Ice Beam, which is resisted damage. And they've also got a Blastoise in the back there, so a few mistakes on my end is going to end up costing me unless they let this move go through. But, of course, they can just safely shield that up there, go for the full roll-up farm down. There is nothing I can do anymore. They've got back-to-back charge moves, and so I'm just going to let the move go through. Hydro Cannon takes me out, and unfortunately, I do lose that game. But GG's to that opponent there into the next battle, and I think the final battle of this video, once again leading into a Wigglytuff. So once again, we're just going to stay in this matchup here, grab a shield advantage, and then come in with our Talonflame. So we go for Surf. Surf is, of course, going to be shielded. They can get the farm down, and they do actually come out with the Icy Wind loaded when they get that farm down. So I'm going to shield here, expecting a debuff. The opponent does go for the Icy Wind, but that's fine with me. They're actually going to allow a full farm down, and we get that farm down just as they're reaching the next charge move, which is huge for me. Then I'll come in with a Feraligatr. I'm going straight for Brave Bird. Brave Bird is going to be grabbing that final shield. Their final Pokemon going to be a Shadow Sizzle, but I'm able to outpace them as we do swap out there. Crunch, of course, gets the KO, and that should be game over. Even if they do get the KO here, of course, we've got a Fly loaded anyways, but the opponent throws on CMP, losing CMP. X-Scissor, when it does connect, will, of course, be taking out the Feraligatr, and I'm able to take that game. So that's going to be it for today's video. If you did enjoy it, please make sure you leave a like, leave a comment letting me know, and as well, don't forget to respond to the question of the day if you haven't done so already. And if you want to see more content like this in the future, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on post notifications. That way you'll be notified whenever I upload a new video. Now, if you want to take your support to the next level, you can become a channel member with perks including early access to new videos, shoutouts at the end of each video, custom loyalty badges, and custom emojis to use in the comments of every video. I want to say a massive thank you to everyone that has become a channel member already. Your support is greatly appreciated. And with that being said, thank you so much for watching today's video, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.